Hello, hello. Welcome to Actors Anonymous Podcast. I am your host, Wissam Kish. Co-hosting with me today is Jordan Burbank. Jordan, how you doing?
Doing good. Good to be back in the throw of things.
Absolutely.
I tell you, I have a show that just got optioned.
Well, congratulations.
So I'm with the production company. We're going around. Can't really talk much about it, but
Wow,
we're shopping it around.
Good things for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Beanie episode with
Beanie.
Jess M. Garcia. Welcome back.
Hi.
Woo.
How are you?
Doing well. Congrats on season 4 for Liv and Maddie.
Thank
first
you.
Of all. And then you did an episode for Casual on
I
Hulu,
did.
correct?
Yes.
Season
Golden
2.
Globe nominated. Casual.
Ooh.
Wow.
Just throw that down as many times as I can.
And people can check it out now if they want.
I don't know. You can check out season 1 of Casual, but
Gotcha.
Season 2 is currently filming right now, and that's what I did an episode of right now.
Copy that.
Check it out on Hulu. It's very
Hulu.
good.
Yes.
Everybody's creating their own content.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And it's so good. It's so much better. You can tell the difference already.
Yeah.
I'm just so impressed with some of the special effects they have in these shows, like the CW special effects.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what?
I give mad props to CW from going from like 90210 stuff to like, have you watched The 100? Because I am actually guilty pleasure. It's like it's just teenage. It's basically Hunger Games in the future where they're just like literally just killing people left and right.
Somebody.
I'm like, CW, my God.
I actually auditioned for the pilot for that.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
It was great. It was a great pilot.
You
I was like,
avoided
wow.
a lot of blood and mud on your face, like because that's
Darn.
all they do.
I know, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Like,
What's new with you? How's life been? Congrats, by the way.
What? I mean,
What?
something
Oh
happened
damn!
to me.
We need to zoom in
Do you
on
get-
that rock.
Did you get
Bam.
glitter?
Congratulations!
Thank you. That happened about a month ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very, very exciting.
For-
Completely unexpected.
For audio listeners, Jess got engaged.
Oh, I
We
did.
were
I
looking
got
at her
engaged.
ring.
Sorry. You should be able to hear my ring. That's how amazing it is. No, but it was a complete surprise, and
Yeah.
all my friends were there. Half the cast of Liv and Maddie surprised me being
Oh,
there. It was
wow.
unbelievable.
Man, is your fiance in the industry
He
as well?
is.
Okay.
He is an aspiring art director. He's freelance right now, but he's incredible. He's so talented. He does a lot of props. He does any kind of scenic design. He's just incredibly artistic.
Right. It's such because this industry, we're working sometimes, we're not working sometimes.
Mhm.
Our schedules are so crazy. It must be such an amazing experience, an amazing journey being with somebody in that same industry and trying to keep a relationship together. That's, I feel like that's a little bit, I don't know. Is
It's
it
a
work?
lot.
Is it good work? Is it
Um,
just happen naturally?
It's really natural, and it's
Good.
also because we have an incredible respect for what each other do. Because I can't do what he does, and he tries to do what I do, but he's like, I can't even imagine thinking of all the things you do and the preparation, and it's such an interesting juxtaposition, I would say. But
Wonderful.
it's so important to kind of have that kind of that yin and yang,
Yes.
because he kind of levels me out. He lets me know, because I think if I were with another actor, I feel like there'd kind of be a weird underlying like competition thing. I feel like if you're doing really good, I got to do really good, and like that doesn't always happen. That you're not always in the same place, and you need to be each other's number one fan. And I have that with him, and
That's wonderful.
it's priceless.
That's good. I was just thinking of like just how
Good for
crazy
you.
and ever changing this industry is. So it's nice that you have that stability.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of ever changing industry, the diversity issue that's been just hitting hard recently more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually want to. This is one of the reasons why we brought you on today to discuss diversity with you. And I know as an actor, for me, I am ethnically ambiguous, so a lot of the diversity roles I'm lucky enough to go out for, especially this season of pilot season. And I don't know what your experience has been, but I've noticed there has been a pretty much wider selection than the year before. And what I'm seeing, my personal experience on TV, is it's getting better, but are we at the perfect diversity level? I don't think so. What do you think?
I definitely don't think that we're anywhere near the level where we should be right now. I was talking about that with my fiance too. I was like, the fact that we have to have a show called Blackish and, fresh off the boat and have that be like such a crazy new concept that, you know, there's a Black family out there that has, you know, issues that are outside of their race and are affected by their race. And, you know, they have kids that grow up and go to college and have families. Like, it's so crazy to think that right now we're okay with looking at their stories. Like, that's insane to me. Like, that we only have one Asian family. Like, now we have two. We have Dr. Ken, too, and that's awesome. But the fact that we can count it and that we have to, like, talk about it, it means that we're not there yet, you know? And that's the frustrating part of it. And, like, I am really thankful for this season because I do see a lot more of any ethnicity. You know, they're willing to see any ethnicity. And that's refreshing because before, you know, my name was Maria every time. And I only, you know, could only have so many jobs because that's only the Latina jobs you could have. So It's finally opening up and people are realizing that my story is just as interesting as, you know, someone else's of like a Caucasian, you know, it's
getting better.
Yeah.
We're not there yet. I don't know this is the solution to this problem right now, and it'll change right away. And I think it's going to take more time for it to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's something like this drastic to change. It takes time, and I understand people's frustration. The Oscars were interesting for me.
We're very interesting for me.
Can I make? I want to be. I feel like I have to say this right off the bat. I'm not prejudiced. I believe that there should be diversity. There should be equal opportunity for everybody, regardless of your skin, gender, sexual orientation. I don't even think that it doesn't matter. I just saying that right now, so it's on record. So if anybody wants to go, well, you're a racist, we Sam, I'll be like, scroll back a little bit. So, no, I really enjoyed Kevin Hart's speech at the Oscars. I think it was very well put together. There was, obviously some comedy to make it lighthearted. That's fine, but there was still that weight to and the seriousness to the issue. I did not understand. There was two parts where I was just like, wow, that was weird. I thought this was a serious subject. This is not in good taste, in my opinion. Chris Rock brought on some news correspondent.
Oh, no, Stacey Dash?
Stacey Dash as an awkward joke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was that weird? Is that weird to me?
The Stacey Dash thing was really strange. And it was just because I didn't know what she was then saying because she's come out saying some pretty horrible things. I mean, but that's her right. She can feel however she wants about it. But, you know, she's put women back quite a few years and her own race a few years. So the fact that she came out and then was like, you know, smiling was just like, are you backpedaling now? Are you saying that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, like I didn't understand.
It was really like a
point of that
sweaty scene, like moment on like because
Yeah.
nobody
And
clapped.
it's horrible because I
was
was
if it was
always
over.
a fan of her, and
Yeah.
now I'm like, I can't
Clueless,
watch
man,
like
clueless.
Dion. Like, what are you doing? You can't drive or have opinions right now. I don't like either of them.
Get off the freeway.
The other part, which I was like, I just did not like at all. I understand they've done it on Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon before. They interviewed people outside of the Compton Theater. Do you know that part?
Mm-mm.
Did you not see that part?
I think I watched them interview people. Yeah.
Okay. Chris Rock was interviewing, I think most of them were African Americans. I think there was like one Caucasian guy.
Mm.
And he was saying, like, hey, what do you think of this film? And they were like, oh, we've never heard of it. We never heard of this one. And they were, I don't know, they were portrayed as he was asking them questions about the Oscars, about films, and they didn't know, so it came off like they were very ignorant or very stupid. And I'm like, how is this? This is not, and it's coming across, if I'm somebody who's prejudiced, first of all, you are not changing my views. You're not enlightening me with this.
What was the purpose of that? To be like, these aren't the movies that they are watching, and like the majority of people are watching. Was that the point?
Maybe that's like the best. That's the best point I could possibly think of. But the way it was done, it's like it's just coming across like the people you're interviewing, these African Americans, you're making them look stupid, and I'm like, even if it's like a joke, this is a serious matter right now.
I feel like the intent, because there's also another joke that was delivered when they had several kids come on stage. I believe they're actors from some movie.
Yeah.
And they made a very, like, a very stereotypical Asian joke about the kids bringing the ballots or something. Like it's like the counting or some like thing like that, and it just turned into like my assumption was the Oscars were trying to make light of an entire situation that was giving them,
Yeah.
you know, poor PR the entire way leading up to it. So I assumed that. I know that they probably chose Chris Rock way in advance, but
Right.
also I feel like they were just trying to be like, let's make light of the situation. But like the Stacey
But
Dash
no.
thing was like a perfect example of something that does not
Yeah.
work.
No.
I
at
wanted
all.
you to think that the Oscars wanted to be a little winky, like we are
Yeah.
aware of that, you know, we're not doing so great right now.
Yeah.
But- Okay, I don't know, and this is a question I'm posing. Is it studio decisions? Is it producers' decisions? Is it coming down to, well, we just found the best actors and they just happen to be white? Like, I don't know where the ball is being dropped throughout the process.
All
'cause
of it. I mean, it's going
Yeah.
because people are so scared to lose any money. So they're not putting money in original content to begin with. That's why you have Hulu and Netflix doing all this incredible new shows, because they know that they're going out on that limb because they've had such success. And you see shows like Master of None that are just incredible, that are showing so much diversity, and they're doing great things. There's no reason why that show isn't on HBO or on ABC or on any of those networks. And it's that. It's also the fact that I think people are scared that the minorities aren't the ones going to see these movies and are spending the money to go see these movies.
And then it goes back to, hey, what's the quality of the movie? What's the quality of the program? I don't see this happening anytime soon, but I don't like it when we're at one extreme.
Absolutely.
And then we go to the other extreme. It's like, no, we need diversity in this.
Mhm.
It's like, okay, but this guy was good. Like, he's
Yeah.
the best guy we had, and we can't get anybody else right now. Do we really, you know what I mean? I don't want it to end up there.
No.
And I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to happen anytime soon. I just see it happen so much, and I rarely get political, but I recently listened to this on, the Joe Rogan podcast.
I love Joe Rogan.
Oh my God. They were so left wing, these people. It was somebody who was they were being, I don't know the PC term, but they were a transgender person.
Mhm.
They were wanting to turn into a woman, or
Transgender female.
Transgender female, excuse me. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Transgender female, and somehow it like came in full circle. If I remember it completely later on, but basically, like, they were gosh, I know I'm not being very articulate right now. I'm sorry. There's literally a tickle in my throat that I'm suppressing as I'm trying to speak about this. Jordan, please
related
jump
to
in.
the topic?
Puff it out.
No.
I'm not sure where you're going with it, but
Okay, they were protesting a certain group for not being more open, right?
Mhm.
And then what happens was this person became, or they're a transgender female, and they started protesting something else, and then it just became a circle of
Yeah.
they were protesting themselves all in a circle. Like, it just became that so far left wing and extreme that it was becoming back to like the right wing. It's just so
Right.
weird that happens like that.
Mhm.
And I don't know. It's just such a fine line to play.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to watch the Oscars next year and then just throw Oscars to any, minority just for that year, and then we don't see anything again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, it's interesting to me. The year that Halle Berry and Denzel Washington won, Denzel said something that I think people thought were endearing, but I think he was like kind of a wink to the Oscars, because he said two birds. And it was like, did you hit two birds with one stone? Like, we got, we got the first African American, Academy Award for Best Actor and Best Actress. Like, we got it out of the way.
yeah, it's like
But also, I
but-
want to bring out the one thing that really frustrated me about the Oscars was that there's a few more colors besides white and black. And I feel like that's what was brought on the
Thank
Oscars
you so much.
There's so many other colors and so many other ethnicities that it's like, those aren't represented either. Where's the Native American show about their families?
Well, then,
you know?
we hit another point, and somebody else said this, and it got me kind of thinking. We're actors.
Mm-hmm.
why is there a separate category for best female lead and best male lead?
Mm-hmm.
We're a very unique craft where we can mold into, so why do we have that? I understand best supporting actor or best supporting category, excuse me, but to have like female and male, then it's like, well, what's separating them? Just because they're male and female, then shouldn't we like, I don't know, should we?
I would agree with you, because as we're transitioning it, like with more like gender equality and stuff like that, there is a discussion of a lot of like within the industry, a lot of people prefer to just be called straight up actor. It's
Right,
not
I do.
actress anymore.
I prefer.
And I think that's very valid, the same way that you would, do that with any profession. But I feel like there is I think it's something that probably shouldn't be changed, because then you actually, it seems like people would feel like it's backtracking to having a male female competitorship, where people will have a problem if someone wins out over another. Whereas, and I'm not advocating for or against it, I'm just saying I can see the argument that someone would say, like, the same way that women aren't paid as much as men or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's going to be a competitiveness that says, well, a female actor or a male actor, is there a difference in performance? Is there a difference in like all that behavior? Like it's just, it becomes a whole other.
It's a difference in writing, I'll tell you
yeah,
that much.
absolutely. And that's another thing that I think is majorly missing. In like, I've read a lot of scripts from, like, whether it's people I've worked with in writer groups, or if it's just like when I was working with different companies, but there's such a misinterpretive way of that a woman is written by a man. It just does not register well in a lot of work. And a lot of work.
It's unfortunate.
I feel like a woman's voice really needs to be heard in this industry, and that's something that really needs to change. That's why
I'm trying. I'm getting there.
Shonda Rhimes, hands down.
Oh my gosh.
Love that woman. Not only is she great with creating characters that speak exactly how, like, especially with a woman's voice, allowing them to speak the way they should, but she's one of the people that created shows that had such diversity in the cast, and she wrote it to be specifically an American cast, because America is not all white people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you're not looking at that. It's Scandal, one of my favorite shows. She specifically wanted a diverse group of people. She casted to be appropriate for really high talent, but it's one of my favorite shows because it also does showcase the right amount of a ratio that I think more TV shows should kind of idolize in a way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's just so unfortunate, because I want it. It just makes much more sense to be like, yeah, everybody should have equal opportunity, especially in everything, not just in this field. And it's just so stupid, the things people fight over.
Yeah.
It just astounds me, the amount of ignorance and hatred and fear that, stems from all that. And it's just like, really, guys? This is worth it? You really think this is worth it?
I want to know what marketing person was like, no, we have to change this to Blackish. Like, for like a title of a show. Like, we had the Jeffersons back. It was just the name of the family back in the day. That was fine. And now we're like, come to like years and years later, Blackish. It's like a weird.
I actually kind of like the name, because I feel like it's saying that they struggle between being, quote, Black enough and American white enough, like whatever they feel like that's supposed to be. I feel like they're saying that, you, because of so many years of seeing that if you're Black, this is the box you're in. If you're Hispanic, this is your box. Now they're showing that, no, that doesn't apply anymore. That it's just that struggle of saying that, okay, I should still be considered as Black as I was, because what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like
a social commentary on,
And that's why I had a huge argument with a really dear friend of mine, because we were talking about Idris Elba being the next James Bond. And I was like, that would be so amazing. Mm-hmm. And he didn't understand that. He didn't, and he's not a racist person. I don't believe it. But like, for him to think that James Bond has to be white, that's why we're having this conversation. Like, the fact that, like, for some reason you think because there's been 9 other ones that this has anything to do with that. But what that would do for little African-American boys growing up knowing that this is what they could, like, they could be this suave, educated, like, they're getting to see this. And, like, look, like the Black stormtrooper. Like,
yes.
That was so massive for so many people. Like, the fact that I went bowling the other day and this little girl was wearing a Ray shirt.
That's one of my favorite things.
Yes, like, that is so bomb that she's growing up going, I can be a fighter, I can be a warrior, I can do this, and I don't need to have my hand held through it.
Yeah.
Like, that's so incredible. And we are making a difference, but we have to, bombard people with it until they can't ignore it anymore, until you can't turn away from it.
Yeah.
And then it'll become normal. Not for another 20 years, but
I really hope it branches out to, again, all ethnicities and
Absolutely.
not just singled out to a single ethnic group. I think that's, again, because then it's like, well, you put all in that, then now do we have to start with another group from scratch? It's like, no, this has to change right now. I think it's happening slowly, especially with the TV stuff. I really do mean that. I've seen it in the pilots that have been coming up. I see it in the rooms I'm going in, not just for the roles I'm going out for, but for female roles. I'm seeing a wide range of females in there, and it's great. I'm like, oh shit, it is the wild. Who knows what's going to happen now, which is great and exciting.
I feel like movies are actually taking a bigger step in my viewpoint. Maybe it's just based on what I'm watching, but I noticed like, and that's one thing is like a lot of people can criticize like, I for one am a Disney fanatic. A lot of people do criticize one way or another about Disney, but I do believe that one of the core beliefs from the man himself was to inspire people to, when they're younger, to be able to do anything they want to do. And I feel like one of the strongest things that J.J. Abrams did with Star Wars was create an African-American lead and a female lead. And she is one of the strongest characters that's going to be part of the series. That is just one of the greatest things for being able to captivate a female audience in Star Wars is great, because I'm sure they're the minority of the fans versus men. But to inspire little girls to want to do so much more with their lives and be so important is just phenomenal. And the same thing with I think there's a lot going on, and this is a big controversial thing too, was the release of the new Ghostbusters trailer. Like, how awesome is it that we have 4 women playing Ghostbusters, and, instead of men? And unfortunately, it's been getting a lot of heat on Twitter and everything, and like people are kind of hating on it. But I think it's outstanding to be able to see a cast like that.
Absolutely, and the caliber of women that they chose is insane. Like, you can't take the talent away from them.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
People need to calm down.
And I think in the mix of all this, for actors out there who are struggling getting auditions maybe and are thinking, well, there's not enough roles out there for me, I say this: make your own stuff.
Absolutely.
Don't stop complaining. That's just what the business is right now. It's changing, it's slowly changing. Who knows where it's going to go? Stop complaining. Do something about it. Work on your craft. Every time when I'm in doubt, I go back to working on my craft. Go back to acting. Go back to acting. Rub it in their face. Like, if you don't pick me now, you're screwed. Just remember, you missed out, not me. I did everything I could possibly do and a little bit more, and you missed out. So boom, that motivates you to keep going even when shit hits the fan. That's what I think. That's it for the
do you think there's something that an actor could do? Obviously, this is a very random, weird question that may not have an answer, but is there something an actor could do within the context of what we've been talking about when they go into a room? Is there something, or do you think it's something that's kind of on the side of a casting director or, a higher up that demands, this whole situation of whitewashing in Hollywood? Like Emma Stone supposing to play half Asian, or Johnny Depp playing Native American. You can't blame the actor for that. That is not. There was an interesting article I was reading about Exodus.
Emma Stone. Sorry.
Yeah,
Emma Stone.
people blamed her for that.
It's
she got cast.
Exodus is a movie about. I'm not getting too involved in it. I'm not getting deep into it, but
but I know where you're going.
But they casted 2 men for this role that is just really interesting, because they interviewed the director, and the comment was, why are you whitewashing a film like this? And one of the comments was, I don't want to I guess I have to paraphrase because I don't have the quote in front of me, but along the lines of, no one would go see a movie starring Muhammad something something. But at the same time,
he's not wrong.
The guy, but at the same time,
as well.
The point was, you have Christian Bale, and then opposite him is a fairly no-named actor that they were like, well, why couldn't that be a man of ethnicity that was portrayed accurately? And it became a big conversation. So it's like, obviously you don't do things because you want to book the best talent,
but you have to do it first and let it fail. You have to let it fail.
Or at the same time, you have to have an open mind going into something instead of just expecting exactly what you want. I think that that's the problem with a lot of people, where especially with a writer, or you have a director, whoever, especially if it's a combo, they are so connected to a work that they're like, this is the person, I see them in my head, they look like this. Well, maybe you should look for one of the best actors or a more accurate portrayal to be able to make something seem more historically accurate.
Well, they don't care about that. Everything is CGI now anyway, so nobody cares about what things look like. Or
It's so funny when you said nobody's going to see a movie with the main actor.
That was not my quote.
Or not.
No,
you.
but in a way, and I hate that, but it's true. Unless we start seeing that, like the reason we're at this point is because we've messed up for so long that all of our movie stars are blonde hair, blue eyed, and it's not their faults either. But it's so frustrating. I mean, I can't. And how many actors they cast that are supposed to be in a wheelchair and that are not in a wheelchair, or have that there are actors out there who would do anything to be in those roles and aren't even being seen for them. Like it's not just race, it's so many things.
It's amazing when you're dealing with a lot of money.
Yeah.
With, on the whether it be studio execs or studios or independent people, independent financiers. Man, when the people who have the money have the power. It's just, it's unfortunate. It is. But it's slowly changing.
Yeah.
And people are getting upset. And
I can't wait to see movies starring Muhammad and actual.
Well, it's so funny to me. Like, why were we going to go see a movie called 12 Years a Slave with the lead actor named Chewy? I can't even pronounce his name. He's one of my favorite actors, but I can't pronounce his last name. People will go see that when it's named 12 Years a Slave. I don't know. I just there's it's so interesting what's successful sometimes in this business, what's not successful, what people make a big deal about, what people totally ignore that should be made a big deal about, and what we see in the media, what we see. It's just, you got to be careful and you got to do your research too.
You know what though? I give much I commend the people that turn things on their head and then they just stand by it 100%. One of the biggest things I remember reading, because I used to be in love with Battlestar Galactica, and
You were the one?
Just me. It's awesome. Like, I didn't watch the old stuff, but the new stuff, one of the most interesting things about the series was that one of the hard ass kind of like total like douchebag, like not douchebag characters, but like she's just really, really rough around the edges. It was Katie Sackhoff's character, and she was phenomenal in the role. But the role in like the 60s version was this like, cigars toting guy that, when she was casted, she got death threats. Like repeated death threats in the mail, like all the time. And they were like saying, if you do this role, we will find you and kill you. And it's just like, are you insane? One, it's a TV show. And two, it's just like, give this woman a chance to see what she can do. And I will say, phenomenal. Like one of the most phenomenal characters in that show.
Again, it goes back to, and I hate
death threats on TV show.
TV. The same thing happened with I can't remember his name. The guy who plays Finn in Star Wars. Same thing.
So
I was like, are you crazy? Like, why would people be that crazy about something?
Unfortunately, they're especially right now with this political climate, there is it's separating. It's becoming more and more clear. The hate that's going on. I'm not going to mention any rallies or anything like that because this is not what the show's about. But the hate that I'm seeing out there is astounding.
Yeah.
Like, this is 2016. You really care somebody's sexual preference? Is it your business?
Yeah.
I don't understand why this is an issue still. Because of your insecurities. You believe what you want to believe. Don't push it on other people. Who do you think you are? I'm sorry. I'm trying to quell this right now because that is absolutely absurd. It's going on overseas when we're having ISIS to the most extreme level. They just executed a kid in the middle of Iraq for listening to music. Listening to music. What God do you pray to?
Right.
Yeah. That's just... Yeah.
We're not, and by the way, in this country, there are a few people who are not too far away from what's going on in Iraq and Syria and the Middle East right now with ISIS.
I think,
Ah.
I listened to a really good video the other day. One, I should say, like, with this conversation, if you really want to hear more and a really good piece, I would definitely consider going online. It's on our Facebook page, but just look up John Oliver
Oh,
on
yeah.
Whitewashing. It's one of the
Yes.
best videos I've seen that
I
explains
love
it
John
perfectly.
Oliver.
Yeah, he's amazing. But there's also this, and I'm not advocating on the show, but there's a Bernie Sanders piece that I listened to, and one of the most amazing things was he was talking about why are every 4 years when there's an election or anything like that, there's always someone to attack. You attack the LGBT community, you attack women's women's right to choose, or all this right now it's keeping Muslims out, and it's like there's always a person that's a scapegoat for the real problems.
Absolutely.
And it's like, instead of, one of the things he said that really resonated was why don't we all focus on making ourselves better instead of bringing other people down? And I think that's one of like the best things to live by, is just like focus on you and making yourself happy, and forget about bringing other people down or bringing people lower than you, which is exactly what we do with this podcast.
This is
and
such
stuff like
common
that.
sense. It sucks because we have to like talk about it when it's just so basic to me. It's like, it's none of your business. Just be nice to people. Every single major religion out there is saying, do unto others as you would do unto you. I mean, okay, we're out of time, but I could go on and on.
No, I know. I could too.
This is very frustrating. As an actor, if you're listening to this, if you're upset as we are, go create something.
Yeah.
Go do something with your craft. Make a voice for yourself and be nice. Be respectful. Jess, thank you so much for coming back on the show
Thank
and
you for
discussing
having
this.
me.
Seriously.
She's sticking around.
I'm sticking around.
Oh, yeah, you're sticking around.
Yeah, I'm not leaving.
Be back
Yeah.
with Brian Chan.
We're
I
going to
want
take
to
it.
meet
after the
Brian.
break.
Oh, Brian is cool. I think he's in the waiting area right
I want
now.
to pick his brain.
He is one of
He's in the
the
holding cell.
in the holding cell.
It's
It couldn't hold
a
him.
really nice holding cell.
It couldn't hold him. He is a pretty strong
there's-
gentleman.
Oh. Hey,
There were
Brian.
mints over there in the holding cell.
We'll be right back.
Treat people nice.
And we are back. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. That's good. And I feel closer.
Oh.
We have a very, very special guest, and I'm honored that you came on the show this week. Brian Chan is a Sifu master at Kung Fu who I am so lucky to take classes with throughout the week whenever I can. And he is also a pastor. And what was the church name again?
Recreate Church.
Recreate Church. You're one of the coolest people I know, and we've gotten to have some coffee conversations. We're on the same wavelength, I feel,
Right,
to a
right.
certain extent.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Cool. Thanks for having me. It's a privilege being here.
Yeah, of course. I've done martial arts most of my life, and the reason why I want you to come on and talk about a whole range of stuff is because I've noticed there's lots of similarities between the acting, craft, and martial arts, and some of those disciplines, they cross each other at times.
Yeah.
You've gotten to work with actors, correct? In like
Yes.
fight choreography and
Yeah, a little bit here and there. Yeah, working demo reel, stuff like that. And
you can be so creative with that in terms of like what you can come up with for choreography and for an actor. If you're not in anything like martial arts or physical activity, I definitely recommend getting into something. It just gets you more in tune with your body. Would you agree?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of martial arts in general, whether it's kung fu, karate, all the different types of disciplines, it makes you aware of your body. You know, a lot of things about the way you physically move, how you use your muscles, what muscles you use. A lot of times we're just not aware of our bodies. And martial arts creates that level of awareness.
Ugh,
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. I remember one time, one of the first few classes I took with you, we had a student in the class, and you were like, you do this with your like shoulders. You always have your
Right.
shoulders up. Do you realize that you're tense? And she's like, yeah, I realized that. And then she just dropped them, and it's like, okay, you're not tense anymore. Like, just, I don't know. I really like
Yeah.
that.
Well, you know, one of the profound things too is the connection between the mental and the physical. And that's what martial arts really started to grasp and understand. A lot of times when I'm training students, I can tell them, stop concentrating on your, on your hand, or stop concentrating on this. I can tell what they're thinking based on how they're moving. And so there's this direct connection between the mental and the physical. And as you train as a martial artist, you're not only becoming more aware of your body, but there's a greater integration between your mind and your body. There's a greater elevation of the development of your mind.
Is that done through like daily practice? I mean, how do you
Yeah.
how do you become more aware? I know that's a very like ethereal question.
Yeah, there's in Wing Chun Kung Fu, there's what we call sometimes a switch. It's kind of like a light bulb. It just sort of clicks at some point where if you're always focused on the physical, it starts to hinder you. If you start to actually give attention to your mental development, it opens up your mind to that. And that's largely in general the principle of learning. Learning is just becoming open to certain aspects that you didn't realize that was part of the learning process. A lot of times people, when they see a fight choreography, they think they just see physical, but really what they're getting into is they're seeing the mental expression of the person in that choreography.
Jess, whenever you are working on a role, does it start mental for you? Like from the inside out, do you work that way?
It depends on the role. It depends if a role is very close to me that like hits me emotionally from the get, then it's an internal out. But sometimes I need to find a physical, like some kind of like twitch, not necessarily a twitch, but something physical that helps me get outside of myself and into someone else.
Right.
Something that's maybe not so familiar to me.
Gotcha. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I know some of the kung fu stuff we've done, there's been like animal forms. You know what I'm talking about? It's like the snake or like the monkey or like the kung fu films where we see people are like they're acting like a tiger. When you're doing those forms or those styles, in your mind, are you trying to take on the essence of a tiger? Are you thinking like, I'm a tiger? Or like, you know what I mean? Or are you just, what kind of zone are you in mentally?
Well, when I train, a lot of the moves that are developed were developed by what people observed and learned in nature. They observed how a snake would defend itself or how a crane would defend itself and how it would move. And so there's a lot that could be learned from nature, from creation. And so I think that's the part where I try to focus or explain the principles of a movement is, this hand where your fingers are sticking out is not just fingers sticking out, is supposed to personify a snake. So by grasping that mentally, you have a visualization or an understanding of that principle of how you're supposed to be moving and why this is the way it is.
Right. It's something that... go ahead. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Thinking about it.
Doing.
When we're doing the Wing Chun forms and you're like, relax, like just do it more softly, let it kind of feel it. It's amazing, like in the beginning when we first started working on them, I felt so tense because I'm like, I'm punching so hard right now. And like, I don't feel like this movement is flowing. And I feel like sometimes with acting, whenever we like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, Jess, but like, we're like, I want to be sad right now. I'm trying to be sad. I feel like the more relaxed and the more loose we are, we're able to execute things more properly. Is this the same thing with martial arts?
I think so. And this is where I think you discover the art in Wing Chun. The art part of it is discovering this juxtaposition where power doesn't necessarily come from this hard or forceful place. It comes from a place of peace. It comes from a disposition of grace, where that calm is the source and that avenue of strength and power. So we start to learn, I think, in martial arts that power comes in many different avenues and in many different ways. And a lot of times that broadens our mind because a lot of times we have a stereotype of what power is. Yeah. And in the fight choreography, it's an expression of some form of power that when you're executing moves and you're fighting against a person, and where is that power coming from? What sort of power is it? Is it soft? Is it hard? And there's different types of it,
Right, and that's something we learned. There's what is the strength of like a bullet versus the strength of like mass. It's like speed and mass. Please explain this. You explain it much better than I do.
Right. Yeah. So a person who's maybe 250 or 300 pounds, they can use their mass, their sheer size and their weight, their muscle to generate power. A person who's 90 pounds doesn't really have that kind of option. You can't generate that level of mass when you don't have it. But a small person has power too. It's just a different form of power. And I think what we start to learn is you're not trying to generate always the same kind of power that someone else is generating. That there's power in your framework, in your makeup, and it can come from a place of soundness, of softness, and of grace. Yeah.
This, I love how there's universal truths in there that can be applied to acting, to creating a role, to before you go into the audition, to relaxing and calming yourself. Because I don't know how many times, like, the best performances I've been able to garner out of an audition are when I have been calm.
It's actually kind of funny because, oddly enough, this is a future episode from this episode, but Cheryl said earlier on a taping that when you go into an audition, you have to change the particles in the room. And I thought that was a really interesting visualization. Like, you literally have to go in there and shift the energy of that room to get those people to see you. And I thought that was, like, very, very similar in the mindset of, like, you have to, in your own specific way, eject that to somebody, or not eject, what's a better word? Like, emote.
Project?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's a dance, and Brian, if this makes any sense, let me know. Whenever sometimes you're sparring with somebody, sometimes there's this dance that happens, and I've experienced it in Taekwondo more because I'm brand new to Wing Chun right now, and so my sparring, I'm very tense. I don't know the moves that well, so I'm very white belt to it. But in Taekwondo, whenever we used to spar, sometimes there's like this wonderful dance that's happening, and I correlate it with you and your scene partner.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah, right. And it's so you're aware of what's happening, but you're almost like third person perspective to a certain extent, and you're just everything you feel, everything. Like you see them almost making the move before they make it. And it's just you're in the zone, as we call it for actors or like for fighters, and it's this like transfer of energy, this ball that you're shifting one here, and then then you're able to hit them with something. You know what I mean?
And it's why we want to do this, because it's that moment that you want to keep having over and over again.
Oh man, I'm getting like energy built up just talking about it right now. And I've experienced that at moments in sparring when you're just there. Yeah. You're focused, you're not tense, you're not too loose, you're just there. And then when you see that moment, you just kind of shift their energy. Or if you've knocked like a huge person down before, and with just like a boop like that, it's the coolest thing ever. Because for like a little guy, like to do that, it's just like, whoa, what just happened? I don't know.
Absolutely. I think a key insight that you made there was this transfer of energy happening between two or more people. And a lot of times when I teach Kung Fu, I use dance as sort of an analogy. I used to take ballroom dancing in college, and as the guy partner, they would teach us how to let the female partner know what you're about to do. You move your shoulders, your hand a certain way, so the female knows how to follow. When Kung Fu, it's very similar. When we're sparring, we use touch, not just eyesight, but we use the feel that we have with the other person. And so I can move with the person. And there's a flow of energy. And you almost see like an impromptu choreographed contemporary dance take place between two individuals. And that last thing you mentioned about, with this flow of energy, I use physics as a way of explaining too. When I describe, like, if you drop a bowling ball and a feather, I mean, they both are weightless, even though one is far heavier than the other. Physics says that when they're in free fall, they're weightless. So we use a lot of these concepts of physics where you could be fighting against someone who's 300 pounds, but if you get him off his balance and he becomes a free falling object, he's like weightless.
Oh man, that's so
See, and this is part of the art behind it, and this is part where you can get a small person having power, not the same kind of power. And I think that's an important thing in martial arts is we get out of our stereotypes. The stereotypes that power has to do with mass and brute force and muscle. It has to be that. It doesn't have to be that. There's power in the artistry.
And I think in acting, what we were just talking about is actors breaking out of those stereotypes as well, in terms of the roles that they're forced to audition for sometimes.
I'd like to pose a question for our audience. To everybody here, with
wait, the audience that are listening, or
it's an answer.
Okay.
I want your answers to be for them.
Okay.
What is wrong with me? I swear to God.
We're gonna start.
You have a laundry list going? I wanted to know, based off of what we were just talking about, and kind of backtracking a little bit, how both of you as actors, or with Kung Fu, like how can someone who may not be able to dedicate time to taking classes for martial arts or anything like that, well, let me backtrack. Sorry,
That's
I'm
right.
just trying this. So like as actors, you are your own, business, and as like when you think about it, a lot of people think that their business is mostly in their head, mostly like how they can come up with this, how they trigger emotions, how do they do all the research and market themselves. But the other part of it was what we were talking about earlier, knowing your body, knowing yourself as a machine, like how to like what's your stance, your posture, and does that affect when you go into a role? But also, how can we as aspiring actors or people that are constantly trying to get work get more in touch with themselves in that way, like maybe in like a daily routine or something that they might be able to center themselves and find a focus?
Well, I would say meditation is key, and it's very free. And it's something that you should be doing on a daily basis, I would say, because in between going to work and going to class, there's so many people and scripts and just everyday things in your head. And I remember I was going to class and I was so down for like a month straight. I was like in this horrible depression. I didn't know why. And it was like, because I was literally losing a child every week in class, like in a scene. And it was doing a lot of, I'm sorry, I should clarify. Sorry, I wasn't on like a homicidal spree in my acting class. But no, in
just
my
got real.
in my scene,
good.
I was going through a loss of a child every week, and
Right.
didn't know what that was doing to Jessica, as at me as the actor. And then you start realizing where actors go down this like spiral of going on medicine because they're trying to like become a normal person, but like it takes a lot out of you to get there every time. So I had to find meditation in order to like balance who I was.
How do you like? What is your meditation routine? Do you center yourself? Do you need music or like?
I need nothing. I just need me in the ground, and I'll light a candle. I have stones that I have sage, and I just take time to just sit down and concentrate on my breathing and just feeling like a light positivity around me, and like just shutting everything else out. I did martial arts for 10 years too. I took basete, and that taught me how to ground myself a bit and have more respect for my body.
What is that? I've never heard of that.
I mean, I took it for 10 years, but I couldn't tell you much about it. These are two different martial arts, I will tell you that.
Okay.
And I took it back in Florida, and
Gotcha.
I started at like 8 years old.
Gotcha. Have you heard about basete?
I've not.
No? I
not.
always think that everyone's just going to know it.
I'm not sure
Like,
I don't know what
basete,
region
yeah.
that's from. But,
I actually don't either. Two separate.
Oh, okay.
I will tell you that much.
Yeah. But I think meditation is a very good point.
Right.
And that's a very important practice that oftentimes I think in our busy lives we just don't carve out time for that, especially with the congestion of city life. And, there's the Eastern kind of basic form of meditation of emptying. And then there's also what maybe localized as like a Western form of meditation, which is anchoring,
Right.
actually meditating on something maybe specific that refreshes you, maybe meditating on how loved you are, meditating on the fact that you're a child of God no matter what other people say or how the audition goes. That there are fundamentals about your humanity that just doesn't change.
You just hit on something very important for actors to realize that exactly there's a world outside of acting,
Right.
and it's you need something to stabilize you because
It's an anchor, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you said that on air. I want to talk a little bit about the choreography practice, and one other benefit that I think people can get from is the control aspect, where you have to be in control. You have to feel your partner. You have to make it look real, like acting. I think that takes practice, that takes trust. What are some, whenever you're choreographing a scene, let's say, or a fight scene between two people, what's your process like?
Well, it depends if they are a trained martial arts or if they're not. If they're not a trained martial artist, then I run through just a common repetitive basic drill over and over again with them, and when I'm not. There's a different expression or exertion of power.
Right.
I think as a real martial artist, I expect them to hit with full force without hitting. And that's how I train a martial artist who's doing a choreography. So right now I'm training a young woman who is preparing for a feature role. And I have her move it. First, I train her hitting full force. I want you to hit through the pad. Now I want you to hit through the pad without hitting the pad. And so we work up in those stages in order so that it looks like a real fight, a real hit. And I train her so that in training, I want you to get as close to the pad or to me as you possibly can without hitting me. So that way, if I can get that, we can have a larger margin of space in the actual shoot, in the actual choreography. If you can get close enough to me where you can practically touch my skin in training and practice without hitting me, then you can sure deliver a very convincing hit 6 inches away from the person, a foot away from the person.
Right, but that goes back to
It's
your
the
training
control.
in control.
Is the control.
Yeah.
And is that preciseness, is that exactness, and that's where the art comes in. That's where the training has to become so critical. Is that the more that you train as an authentic martial artist,
Right.
the more it comes off convincing as you're the real deal. And I think that ultimately in acting, you're trying to incarnate the part, right? You're trying to embody
Right.
the part. You want to be that thing that you're trying to act, so that you're not really in so much acting as you are incarnating. And so that's what I want my
Ooh.
fighters to do. I want them to embody it. I want them to incarnate it. They enflesh it,
love that
versus
word.
acting it. Yeah.
Incarnate.
Yeah.
Fun, like random tip, because I have to give.
Oh,
something
please
completely
go
off
ahead,
topic.
Joe.
No, it is on topic actually. But fun fact for anybody that is editing their own work and wants to do some type of stunt work, or I learned this through a coworker, that when you're actually editing a scene where someone's throwing a punch,
Mhm.
if you remove like 1 or 2 frames through that punch, that actually moves it in a much more action-packed forward motion, that it actually packs a punch in a way. Like, just fun fact.
Interesting.
If you remove a few
Interesting.
frames, you're actually going to see that fist move a lot
That's
faster.
great. Yeah.
Have you seen The Bourne Identity, the first one?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the fight choreography?
I thought it was great. I believe they used Krav Maga
Yeah.
in that. Also a very close range fighting style, Israeli fighting style.
Right.
And I thought it was very good. I thought it was very convincing. What I really respect are the actors, like Keanu Reeves. I watched John Wick recently, and the amount of time they go through in training. They train like as if they were training to be a real martial artist. They go through 8
Right.
hours a day, for 3-4 months of training. And I mean, that's intense, heavy training.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kills 76 people in that movie.
Who did?
In that movie, that's how many. That's like the kill count in that movie.
Oh,
John Wick?
really?
It's like absurdly, it's absurdly high. Like
Yeah.
for a puppy.
There you go.
Hey, I would kill 78 people for a puppy. Are you kidding? They'd kill that puppy, and it's the saddest thing.
Because
in
it's
the
your
world.
because it's your puppy, or because you
'Cause it's
want
a
a puppy.
puppy.
You're like just
Was it
slash your
Don't
way
kill
to get a dog.
puppy.
Yeah,
You don't kill a puppy.
that's the rule of
And
cinema.
it was a puppy that represented his wife. And I think that's the other thing that's important about choreography is what is the reason that the fighter is fighting for?
Mm.
That drives the fighter. It pulls them out into the fight.
Objective. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's actually in. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to talk about your book before we run out of time.
Yeah, please.
You've written this book, and you have a thing this coming Sunday.
Right. So not tomorrow, but on the 13th, next
Yep.
Sunday, it's my creative book event where I celebrate writing, visual arts, and martial arts. So I'll exhibit my latest novel called Not Easily Broken. You can find that on Amazon if you type Not Easily Broken plus my name, Brian, with an I. And it'll exhibit also my nonfiction book that I have, which I wrote, a philosophy and theology on beauty, which is what I teach at Biola University. And I'll exhibit my artwork. I'm an exhibiting visual artist. I've exhibited in Manhattan, New York, Beverly Hills, Chicago, Dallas, San Francisco Bay Area. So I'll have some of my latest artwork out as well, too. And then we'll do some demos of martial arts. So it's just a celebration of creativity. And I
Awesome.
want to put myself out there and share that with folks. And obviously, it's also a way to promote my novel because I love people to read it. And people to get it for like a discount. I'll sign it. I'll even sign it with a special Chinese signature that you don't get anywhere else.
That's
And
awesome.
so that's the book event that's coming up. And the book basically, every story explores something profound in life. And so how this book got started was I try to explore what's one of the most difficult things that we have to fight against. And that difficult thing that I thought of was loss. And that's something we all experience, and I think that if you're ever going to win in life, you have to be willing to fight. If you're not willing to fight, it's hard to win in life. So my character, he's a widowed father, lost his wife, and I can't imagine losing my wife. So I try.
She's
to
great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Absolute sweetheart. She's so nice.
Yeah. And so I just try to imagine that. And, And how do you get through that? I've known people have lost their spouses, and I see them go through the suffering. And so that's him, and it's trying to address a very soul kind of question. When you've loved and lost, what do you do? How do you come back from that? How do you win? Still, how do you fight? And so my character, he's a communications engineer by day. He's a Wing Chun instructor by night, which is actually very typical of a lot of Kung Fu instructors. They might run a restaurant, they work at the post office, and at night they're kick ass, So, yeah, really, they're like Flash at night,
That's awesome.
So, and then when his 6-year-old daughter goes missing, that's what pulls him into this.
Oh man!
He's pulled out of that normal, he's just an engineer kind of lifestyle, and he has to go and find his daughter. And on top of this, he's got his 15-year-old son who's angry and rebellious. He lost his mom and all that. So that's going to complicate the situation. But what ends up happening is that the character Ray Lee, he's going to have to use everything he has, as an engineer. So there's got some smart, engineering, sci-fi almost kind of elements to it. And then he's going to have to use his skills in fighting to accomplish his journey that he's on. And I think Ray Lee's quest, his journey, is really a metaphor for all of our lives of how do we overcome when tragedy befalls us. And it will at some point,
I love that.
That's really
I love that. And do you have like a Twitter or are you on the interweb?
Well,
I just
World Wide
thank
Web.
you.
Are you on the World Wide Web?
I do have a Twitter. It is Brian S. Chan, I believe, and I need to get on it more often to start tweeting more. Thanks for calling me out on that.
You got to get on there. Yeah.
I have my Facebook. You can find me on Brian C. Chan. That's my Facebook fan page where I post a lot of stuff on my artwork, stuff about my book.
Oh, great!
And,
So people can contact you
Yeah.
via there if that's the most.
I post
Right.
like principles on creativity, that kind of stuff is on there as well too. The book does have a lot of action scenes in it, so if you're interested in kind of seeing a little bit more of Wing Chun, there's a lot of fight scenes in it. And one reviewer, Beverly Hills entertainment consultant, reviewed my book, and a lot of folks like her said that the action scenes seem to play out like movie scenes in their minds. So that's been real positive.
Awesome.
As far as
Yeah.
the
You
review
should
goes.
make it into a movie.
I hope so. That'd be great.
awesome.
Well, we should. You know what? We should get Jordan and Joe together, and some other people from class, and we should film maybe one of the fight scenes from
Yeah.
your book.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty cool. Okay, I just got really excited. Brian,
Write this down.
right? Thank you so much for coming on the show. Seriously,
Thank
it's been
you.
an absolute honor having you on. I'm so thankful I've gotten to meet you, and I'm so honored that you let me attend your class. And I love going to class every single time, even if I get a little beat up. I don't mind. But it's been great, and thanks again. Really,
Awesome. Thank you very much for this honor.
of course. And this Sunday, right? Your event,
The
No,
13th.
13th.
The 13th.
the 13th.
two
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Sundays.
yeah. When this
In two
airs, it'll be
Sundays.
Tuesday.
We're
So
not-
yeah. Yep. So Sunday the 13th. And where can people find information about that?
Well, they can go to my Facebook fan page, Brian C. Chan, which is
Great.
public, and I post it on there. It is Sunday, March 13th, 2 to 6 o'clock
Okay.
at Epiphany Space, which is in Hollywood. And that's 1763 North Gower Street.
Awesome.
Free parking and all.
Oh, great.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh.
free parking.
And
I
now
just
there
got
now.
a lot of.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, okay, we'll come.
We're all there.
Free parking in Hollywood.
That is a good Sunday.
Right. Jess, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you. This is so fun, and I'm so happy to have met you because I want to get that book. That sounds amazing. It's been really awesome. Thank you for having me.
Of
Oh,
course.
we always love having
I
you
didn't
here.
say you, Jordan.
Oh. I-
Just with Sam.
Okay, that's fair. That's
I'm
fair.
just kidding. He's crying. He's
I
crying.
know. I like it. Jess, what's your Twitter?
Ooh, at Jess Marie Garcia, and then at Instagram Jess_M_Garcia.
Boom.
Bam.
Boom. Jordan,
What's up?
how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Love the shirt. Target.
Thanks. I don't know.
It looks like
yes. No. TJ Maxx.
TJ Maxx.
My mom
Good
buys the best clothes for me.
I
Gotta
love
say
your
that.
mom.
Yeah.
She's
my mom's
been.
great.
We text all the time.
Yeah, it's
what's
weird, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
you know?
it's okay. No, she's really nice. She always comments or likes our posts and stuff like that.
Yeah, she shares a lot.
Wonderful.
I like that she shares but doesn't write anything. She's just like, just
That's
immediate
support.
share. Like,
That's
just
support.
like, go, push a button.
Speaking
No,
of
my mom
moms, I know
doesn't.
this is totally random, but your mom's Instagram account keeps popping up on my random search account. If you have an Instagram account or Instagram app, if you push like the search thing, there's like a bunch of random accounts that pop up. Hers is like pops up constantly with pictures of you, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Oh man,
I love Nicole's mom.
she's great.
We
She's so
actually
nice.
got dinner. That's not even a joke. We actually got dinner last week without Nicole.
That's fair. That's fair. Nicole, thanks for everything you do. At Nikki592, correct? Wonderful. Thanks to GVB Studios. Gabe, thanks for everything you do here for Actors Anonymous podcast. Thank you to our listeners. Yes, thank you to our listeners. I really appreciate everything, all your support for the show. We are live on StreamUp. You can check us out every Saturday mornings. A nice little actor bonus for you where you can just lay in bed, pull up your phone, and just watch us while you're still cozy in bed.
Let us know, actually, with today's episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts on everything that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
With the diversity in Hollywood, we'd also love to know, like, what are your thoughts, or how do you meditate? How do you center yourself? What do you do on
Absolutely.
a daily basis? Like, all over our social media, just blast us. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Absolutely. And always remember to listen, think, and then talk.